Here's a place where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while, because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys. All right, well, welcome back into all my Safe Space friends. Today I have Patricia Cori with me. She's an internationally acclaimed author of a whole conscious line of books. She does have one novel, but she has so many other books. You have to check out her YouTube channel. I'll definitely link it below. The one today that's going to be on the docket is called Hacking the God Code, The Conspiracy to Steal the Human Soul. Today she's come on to talk to me not only about the book that she just published last October, but also her work over the last 25 years. I just got introduced to her work not too long ago, so I wish that I could go down a huge rabbit hole right before I even bring her on, but she's going to do it for us. She has a couple other books. There's The Cosmos of the Soul, Atlantis Rising, and No More Secrets, just to name a little bit of what she's got. She's got, I believe, 13 novels now out. Well, 13 books, I should say, in one novel. But she's come on today to share a little bit of her gift with us. So thank you so much for coming on, Patricia.
It's a pleasure, Cheyenne. It's really good to meet you, too.
Yes. Good energy all around. So starting off, you've been doing this for over 25 years, right?
Well, way longer than that.
Yes.
But I started channeling books. It was about 25 years ago. Yeah. Before that, I was a healer. I had my own spirit center in Rome, Italy, where I lived for 30 years. It was called Lightworks. It was the first metaphysical or New Age center to appear in Rome in a heavily Catholic environment, and was very successful, actually. So, yeah, my whole life has been dedicated to this work, but it's been about 25 years since I brought in the first book called The Cosmos of Soul, and then it was almost like a book after book after book. And I'm still at it, as you know, 13 or 14 books. I've lost count.
Yes. I think it's great that you've published so many books that you've lost count. I want to be like that one day, where I'm like, I don't know how many books I have out there. Go to my website.
No, and one of the reasons is because there's a couple of things that weren't officially published, but still are books. Mm-hmm. So I think the count of the officially published ones is 13. So good number.
Well, I'm definitely a fan. I can't wait to get through all of them. I definitely just started Hacking the God Code, which is absolutely right up my alley. Makes total sense to me. I haven't got around anybody that I'm able to discuss it with that maybe they're not on the same frequency of understanding how our DNA is kind of being not only educated against us, but used against us. So to find a book that really encapsulates all of that in the modern day stuff of what's going on, I'm very excited to get on. Is this also, would you consider this like a channeled book with the Syrian High Council?
No, this is not a channeled book. This is me talking from my gut.
Good.
And, it's a different vibe. I mean, the Syrian material is very lovely. It's beautiful messages for humankind, lots of galactic prophetic information. But this one is just, I realize, okay, I have to talk about this.
Yeah.
And knowing that it was sort of risky to be talking about the New World Order, not that I haven't talked about it before, but things that are being put in place in our civilization and what we need to do about it. And I was going to do it anyway. So, boom, out came the book.
Well, I love that you said that, because when I was reading over everything that was in the book and just basically every system that you were calling out, there are so many people that they actually do feel this way, whether they have any idea of what to actually do about taking their power back. But the fact that you're like, I'm just going to talk about this, and this is the shit that gets people killed, let's be honest, but I'm going to talk about it. This is the truth. Okay, we're going to do it. Because I was sitting there reading it, and I'm
Cheyenne, I have to tell you that we're all doing our part. I mean, you with your program, me with what I'm doing. Lots of people are stepping into the power zone, and we need the light brigades to be fearless, because Yeah, they can take us out. They can't take everybody out, but they can certainly take the ones out with the loudest voices. And so my concern, I mean, it did take a minute of reflection, because as I was writing the book, every so often I'd go,
Yeah.
"Oh, ouch."
Well, and even
And
the passion behind it too. You're like, people need to know.
yeah, and it's always been my mission, and I have a very strong fan base who count on me to do that, to speak fearlessly, unedited, as far as I can get past the censors, because I do edit words and I use abbreviations where possible, but we're all doing that. But the bottom line is, this book is a punch in the gut to the powers that shouldn't be. And it's a, staring down the beast kind of energy, which is what I do very well.
Yeah, when I was reading just the overview of it, like I remember the hair on my arms were like standing up, because I didn't even know that a novel like this existed, for one, especially with everything put together in one. Like usually I think some people have like sporadic subjects that they talk about, but I loved how everything was in one book. And I'm like, these are all things that I think about separately. Like I'm like, oh, that's made up. Yep, that's false. That's a facade. That's a trap. That's lowering our vibration. Like, that's jacking with our frequencies. That's shutting off our God source. Like all of these things put in place, and you just called it all out in one, and then were nice enough to put it in one book for us. So I much appreciated. I'm getting all tongue-tied over here, of the consolidation of information as well. Backing up to when you first started channeling, to you, what does channeling feel like for you? Because I also channel. I definitely don't channel novels. I usually do it in the work that I have with clients. But for you, what does it feel like for you when you're channeling?
Okay, well, I want to just specify that these are not novels. They're books.
Yes, they're books. So, I'm sorry. I keep saying novels.
Novels, right. But they're not novels, because novels are fiction stories, and these are flow of consciousness works. So there's that. And how it feels. When it began, I've been a clairvoyant all my life. I've been a very psychic person from childhood. Didn't have to learn it, didn't have to have a breakthrough. It was just my gift through life. And in fact, growing up, I didn't realize that a lot of people didn't see the things I saw. It came as a big shock to me. I don't remember the age when somebody said to me, "What are you talking about, psychic pain?" It was my mother. She said, "Honey, what are you talking about, psychic pain?" And I was flabbergasted. I was like, "What do you mean? What do I mean?" She said, "You keep using this term." I said, "I mean that when I see somebody in pain, the pain goes through my body." And she said, and I said, "Our bodies." And my mom said, "No, I don't feel that." I couldn't believe it, because it was part of my reality from childhood. So, but when I started channeling the book, so let me back up even further. As a child, I had contact from beings that identified themselves as the Little Blues. And they were little Tinkerbell type characters. They used to come and nest wherever I was out in the garden, because I spent a lot of time in nature, still do. And they would nest around me, and they would talk to me about the most galactic stuff, which back in the 50s, when I was a young child, nobody was talking this language. I mean, now if a kid is talking about galactic information, it wouldn't be so surprising, because of the so much information available. But then, there weren't even there were hardly any metaphysical books out. And so my mom said that she said, "You were a special kid." And I one day at 4 years old, I went into the kitchen. Anybody that's already seen me interviewed is going to go, "She's not going to talk about the kitchen again." But it's important. I ran into the house. My mom was cooking, and she said she had a pot of spaghetti sauce in her hand. And I said, "Mom, I think there's something you need to know." And she was busy, Italian mother. She said, "What's that, honey?" I said, "I'm not from this universe." And she told me later, she almost dropped the pan of sauce. And she said, where are you from? I said, "I'm from a parallel universe, but you're not ready to really understand that yet. So I'll get back to you." And out I went to town to my little blue people. So yeah, I had contact back then, and I knew later on that was the Syrians appearing to me in a way that I wouldn't be frightened, as a child wouldn't be frightened. So in 1996, I went into my first crop circle in the England countryside, and there I had the out-of-body galactic experience of all time and space. And when I was taken out of my body, I encountered this committee of conscious beings on another dimension, a sixth dimension. They identified themselves as the Syrian High Council, and they said, there's some things we want you to see. And I mean, you know, this had to be like LSD on steroids. I was traveling the galaxy, the beyond the universe, beyond physical reality. I was on the light strings, which I talk about in the book, actually. I don't know if you read that chapter.
I haven't gone that far.
Yeah, oh, you're going to love it. I was traveling on the DNA of the universe, and it was like a web, a string of geometric design. And every step I took, it vibrated the entire universe, if you can try to dig that. And I saw myself like a spider in a spider web, how my movement at any point in the galactic structure affected every other point in the galactic universe. And so it was just like understanding the DNA of the universe, because all of my work with the Syrians and my own life work is about DNA, is about that we are actually 12-stranded beings. We have 12 strands of DNA, not 2, and healing it and activating it and understanding the divine blueprint that is our architecture as beings. So that's when things really kicked in big time. And when I got back from England, I started downloading these messages. And at first it was a little bit annoying to me because, which is what I'm trying to get to here. I'm sorry if I'm long-winded. I don't like mediumship. Not particularly interested in my own skills as a psychic. I really I was never drawn to mediumship. So the idea of automatic writing, it didn't appeal to me very much. But there I was every morning at 4 a.m. on the computer. And it is, for me, the best way to describe this is not that a voice is speaking to me, but that my consciousness is reaching a level and something else is coming down, trying to reach my level. And there's a frequency zone where it would be like somebody trying to talk into a staticky radio, going, we're trying to tell you. And that these two levels of consciousness try to find that point of connection. And when it does happen, which isn't always, then messages start to come through utilizing my consciousness and their consciousness in a zone that I call the love zone, and magic happens.
The love zone. No, that's great. I have the same definition of channeling as far as what it feels like when it like moves through my head is one feeling, but like the science behind it, like if someone was like, how do you know that? I would just be like, it's a frequency that I am vibrating on, and I am vibrating higher to get to it, and something is coming down, and we're just syncing up. And I mean, I just say that in even human connections. It doesn't have to be anything in a higher density. It's just like, even there's some people that you have a good frequency with, and there's other people you kind of like bounce off of each other, and you're like, I'm okay, I'm not going to try to tune into you. It's all right. Like, I'm not for everyone. It's okay.
Oh, true. Yeah. There's just some people are just energetically repelling, you know?
Yeah.
Just, no thanks.
Yeah.
But when you're channeling higher beings, and of course there's also the issue of people that are not channeling higher beings, but they are channeling the lower astral.
Yes.
And there's a lot of confusion right now because a lot of people are declaring themselves channels. And so I try to assist people, especially when I've taught courses on channeling, what it means to protect yourself and create that dynamic space so that nothing but the highest energy and the highest intention can come in. That's a big part of my work, because those lower astral critters are very eager to come on in and stroke your ego and tell you what an amazing channel you are, and then they're in. So It's very important for people to understand the
And they'll
dynamic
also
there.
try to act like they're higher beings. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make sure you're calling in the right people, keeping, your channel open. For me, it's always auditing my crown chakra, even if it's just grabbing my pendulum and being like, what's going on up here? We're not allowed to see anything if this isn't open up here. Because I've had moments where this thing will just be like shooting right open. Like I'll be seeing a bunch of stuff, but my crown doesn't feel open. So if my crown's not open, I really won't. I'm like, nope, shut it down. Sorry. Crown's got to be open. Guides got to do their work. I'm not going to sit here and figure out if you're good or bad in my head right now. I have a lot of like the clairaudience in my right ear that usually comes through, and I still definitely, I feel like more of a beginner, but I still like humility wise, like feeling like a beginner so I can protect myself more and learn how to protect myself more, if that makes sense.
Well, humility is the ultimate protection because this stuff comes in on the ego. So when I look at people's energy fields, people with gigantic egos always have a fissure in the energy field. And I'm going, oh, there you go. So that's how they get in. And they, these lower entities, they stroke the ego. The ego is the frequency of the ego is how they get in. And so they tell these people, they're amazing. They're the only good, the top, the best, the master, all this ego stroking. And I always start by declaring that I'm a humble student of the universe. And then I call in protection. I create a shield around me before I do anything resembling healing work, clairvoyant readings, meditation, anything. I first create sacred space around me. So that's a good thing.
You and me both. I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, oh, I can't be infiltrated. I'm like, no, it's possible. Do your work. Do your work, please.
So important. It really is. And I learned that early on because I used to do crystal healing back in in my healing center in Rome called Lightworks. And the first time I ever did a crystal healing professionally, I started moving the crystals around and I wasn't 100%. I was awkward because it was my first official paid healing. I wanted to do a good job for this woman. And within minutes, there was something being released. It really blocked energy. And all of a sudden, this thing popped out. I call it the squiggle. And she kept saying, oh, God, oh, God. I said, do you want me to stop? And she's like, no, go ahead. Oh, it hurts. And then finally, out comes this black squiggle. And I watch it go right through the ceiling into the apartment above. And I was so green, I just stood there. And when I looked at my crystal, I don't know if you know Vogel cut crystals, but they're extremely expensive. They've got very, very extreme points because they're used as laser wands and they're carved by psychics. Okay. So she had a reaction like, oh, God, oh, thank you, God. And I was standing there going, where did I send that?
Yeah, where did it go?
I didn't do my homework, create a shield. Mm-hmm. And so I am responsible for whatever that was going through the ceiling to wherever it went. And it was like a crash course in how to prepare, how to create sacred space, boundaries, etc. I learned the first time out. And it's so important.
Direct experience.
And that's, protecting a room or protecting a space between two people, healer and healee, or whether it's just you in your work as in whatever capacity, it is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I'm glad hasn't happened to me, thank goodness, but that was one of the reasons when I started working on more people outside of my family and like my friend circle, that I'm like, I feel confident when I'm with them that I can set the space, hold the container, let them pour out whatever they need to pour out, and I can disperse it properly back to Mother Earth. Because that's my big thing, is always like alchemy and transmutation of it back down into the ground, and then Mother Earth takes it back and makes it, back to the source, so to speak. But when I did realize when I switched over to working with people that maybe like they just met me from a friend, and this is the first time I'm actually getting in their energy, I'm like, okay, let's make sure I actually know how to ground this stuff, because I have no idea what I'm going to pull out of this person. And I would like, get all my crystals around and whatever other ritual sages and stuff that I needed. And I don't know, it's kind of like stage fright for the first time, and nothing black like that popped out for me, but I would feel the same way as you. I'm like, oh no, I'm such a greenhorn right now, and I'm just seeing it as this thing's floating through my ceiling.
And another thing is that the tip of the crystal popped off. This crystal in 1994 cost me $800. Okay? I mean, they're Vogel crystals. They're very hard to get your hands on. They're very, very expensive, right? And so here I am with my new Vogel crystal. I'm all happy and just getting into it. And then, this thing comes out. And then I look down at the crystal and the top is gone.
Oh my gosh.
This thing popped the crystal off. You get it? I mean, I didn't drop it. It just, the frequency of that to top off of this crystal. It had to be recut. Another $400 later.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So I now know about creating sacred space. I guess that's a tough way to learn, but there you go.
There's a difference in definitely just like hearing it and embodying it. And I think that just goes like, I remember just starting a yoga practice when they're like, okay, touch your heart space, feel into your body, feel into this. And you're just like, I don't even know how to feel into my body. Like, this is so weird trying to get into this. And then when, it obviously becomes you and you embody it, you feel it, you sense it, it really does become a part of you. But for the beginners listening, which is why I really like anytime I have a channeler or anybody with open clair senses, I love for them to talk about how they experience it, because we really all do experience hooking into source completely different. The interpretations are probably my favorite part. One of my other curiosities about you is how you got the inspiration to write Atlantis Rising.
Oh boy. So I'm an old Atlantean. I have some vivid memories, not just dreams, of lifetimes in Atlantis. And I've been fixated on Atlantis most of my adult life. It is a channeled book, so see, the thing about the books that are channeled is the Syrians come in, I believe that they pull from my experience, my karmic, I don't want to call it baggage because that's got a negative connotation. It's my karmic
about
stack.
your Akashic, like your Akashic records, would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they pull from that. And then, I never knew what the title of the book would be. I never knew, which was so exciting, because now that I'm writing my own book, it's like, oh, I've really got to do different work here. But in the case of the channel books, I didn't have to think. It was the use of my ability with language definitely was involved in the process. But it was like the title of okay, so here's how it went. The first book, The Cosmos of Soul, I woke up as soon as I came back from the crop circle, and it just started bing, every morning, 4:00. And then somewhere in the middle of the cruise, it would just go, wow. And I'd be in the middle of it going, we're done? Are we done here? And then the next day, it would be picked right back up. Try to imagine this. So you've got in the middle of a sentence, and it's over, and you're like, okay. And then I would sometimes try to finish the sentence, and it sounded ridiculous, so I just stop, and then the next morning it'd be right back to where that was and pick up again. And so after that process of the Cosmos of Soul, I had a 24-hour period, or 48 hours, I don't remember, and then I wake up, 4:00, ding, goes the bell, and I hear the title of the next book is, I'm like, could I have a break here? I mean, the title of the next book is, and it was like, bam, Atlantis Rising, The Struggle of Darkness and Light. And off it went again. And so this was a very exciting process because I just turned out these books. And like I said, it pulled a lot from my experience, but it's coming from a higher source. So as far as how was I motivated, I was just in service, welcoming the energy, and having my own collection of information that I'd gleaned over the lifetimes, and some things that I'd gleaned from research. And you know what's really funny? That's not funny. What's destiny is, I'm now living in the Azores, and it is Atlantis. The people here, the elders here, know that the Azores Islands are mountaintops or peak twins from the continent of Atlantis. So I've returned to Atlantis in this lifetime. And I always say, from Atlantis I began this earth journey, and to Atlantis I have returned to complete it, because I'm convinced, maybe it's wishful thinking, that I'm done with earth incarnations in this lifetime.
I say it often, and I apologize for saying it if it sounds out of an ego when I say it, but I tell my friends that I meditate and talk to every day often, I'm like, there's no way I have to come back here, right? Like, I mean, I understand karma. I understand the things that I did, and I repented, so to speak. Okay, so I'm about to tree branch, I can already tell. There is a show on Gaia, and it's called Galactic Messages, where they talk to the Tagetans out of the Pleiadian star system. There's a bunch of in the Pleiadians, so they don't say they're Pleiades, they're Tagetans from the star system. And they were explaining how karma has been rewritten to work against us. So they're like, yes, if you do something, it sends out like that negative vibration. You do have to, like, it's kind of a boomerang you send out, it'll come back, and you need to make it right. But in order to make it right, you have to understand what you did. You have to forgive yourself, and then moving on, you don't do that again. So yeah, I'm not saying if like I killed someone in this life that I don't automatically have to come back and figure it out in another lifetime. But there's a lot of karma that people in the human race are holding on to because they either do it from a religious standpoint and then go continue to do it, and then just, it's some weird cycle they're putting themselves in. So I, from a very humble and humility standpoint, have been like, guys, there's no way we're coming back, right? Like, we're doing the right things now. We have the rest of our life to dedicate to the good and to the light work and, servicing humanity, so to speak. I'm like, but I barely made it through my 20s. So, like, let's talk about what other dimensions I can go float around on, or maybe I can go just make sacred geometry and the 8 or 12 for a while. Like, I don't want to act very cocky when I say this is my last incarnation, but I really do feel that this is my last earthly incarnation. And I sleep well at night knowing that.
There's ego attached to that. I think there's a deep sense of knowing. First of all, I would like to submit that Earth is probably one of the greatest universities, spiritual universities in the galaxy. So, when people say, what are you talking about? Earth is a prison, Earth is this and that. No. Earth is an extraordinary opportunity to take a giant leap on your spiritual path, because it is it's a higher education. It's a university for your spirit, for your soul to confront itself. And if you learn in this lifetime, not that you've made good or bad karma, because you didn't mention good karma, right? But not that you have to pay for your karma, not that you have to, that karma can, I mean, what you said doesn't exactly resonate with me. I believe that the idea of karma is this beautiful measure from which you can direct yourself to what you perceive as good or bad or right or wrong or ethical and moral, by not thinking if I do this, I'm going to create bad karma, but just recognizing that you are in the end the master of your destiny, even if you perceive of a higher being, which of course I do, beyond your own being, because you are a creature you are a creature, let's say, of God. I like to refer to God as prime creator. Still, you have a framework where you are, like people say, well, let's just hope the universe handles it. And I always say, well, let's give the universe some help, because we are free will individuals still, and we came here to exercise that capacity to choose between the poles, the polar realities of good, bad, light, dark, etc. So if you're just going to sit back and say, well, I'll wait for the universe to handle it, you're in passive mode, and I don't understand what you're doing here, right? So when I say I'm done with this reality, I'd like to think I'm done with this reality. It's not an ego, and I don't think yours is either. It's just I really believe I've got this lesson, which is I don't blame any outer thing for what is happening inside of me, in my world. I take responsibility for everything that is around me, that's happening in my perception of life, my creation of the world, my inner world, my immediate world. And I don't take responsibility for the evil that's out there, but I do take responsibility for how I interact with it, how I stare it down, how I stand in my power and my light. And for me, that is a huge win in the University of Hard Knocks. And then the other thing is recognizing that you are an immortal being. This is my biggest thing. Recognizing that you go around and around as long as you need to. And I do tend to agree with the Buddhist path, which is, you go around, you reincarnate with people that are important, the souls that are teaching you, and sometimes that's a hard lesson. Sometimes I'd love to reincarnate with my mother. Oh my God, right? But that at a certain point, you're ready to leap off the wheel. And the basic reason, the ultimate reason, is because you finally understand that you're just passing through this tube, this little, I call it the tube of life. You squeeze through the birth canal from this expanse of being soul, spirit. You squeeze in this tight canal and into this tight density of 3D, which is becoming 4D. And you squeeze through life with all of the drama that is involved in it. And if you're lucky, or if you're more than lucky, if you're successful, you recognize along the way that, wait a minute, I'm just going to go back out of this thing and back to light, back to spirit. This little tube really doesn't matter that much. Why am I getting my knickers in a twist? And, I work with a lot of people. I've been a teacher, a spiritual counselor, and many other functions. And the greatest gift that I think I can impart to anyone is, don't take it too seriously. It's only life. Whether they blow the planet up tomorrow or whether you live to be 90, it doesn't really matter. It's such a short, finite space. And what does matter is what is beyond, and how your soul is evolving and taking those magnificent leaps to shoot you up the spiral back to source.
I couldn't have said it better, ever. I'll probably replay this back when I just need to have like my warrior moment come back online. Where do I even go from there? Okay, so you have a dream background in being a healer and serving humanity, whether it was from crystal healing, energy work, spiritual teaching, running the place in Rome that you talked about. How did you get so passionate about then coming to write things down? Did you feel like this was just another level in your evolution and part of your responsibility of leaving stuff behind for humanity?
No, it was because I started channeling. I was called. Wakey, wakey. And, the first few pages of Cosmos of Soul, I was in a trance. And then the next day I wasn't in a trance. I was aware of it. And so it wasn't a conscious decision to become a writer at all. And, 1, 2, 3, 4, I finally, in fact, in the middle of Cosmos of Soul, I went, wait a minute, is this supposed to be a book? Because I was teaching courses. I was, the center was very busy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but this is supposed to be a book, just keep writing. So, oh my God, a book? Because I was so busy. And then it was another book, and I just kind of, yielded to where I was being taken. And the council, when I said, is this supposed to be a book? I don't even know anything about publishing a book. And of course, in those days, there wasn't, sorry, I keep getting my hair in my eyes. There wasn't Kindle publishing and KDP and all these options for self-publishing. I was like, I don't think about getting a book published. And the voice rang through the ethers. We will open the doors. You just need to know when to walk through. And when I finished the Cosmos of Soul, I sent the manuscript out to 3 publishers. Try to believe this. Knowing, having been told, people said to me, oh, Patricia, it's so hard to get published. Negative. And I said, I just need to know when to walk through. And I sent it to 3 publishers. The first publisher to contact me was the one who published me, which was Gateway Books in England. And he wrote to me and he said, your book, I have been waiting for your book. It's an answer to a dream. I want to sign you to a contract. And then we started to talk, and then I got another message that said, we absolutely love what you've read, and we'd like to set up a telephone call. And the third one said, please get back in touch with us. So 3 out of 3 publishers got in touch with me within a matter of weeks. And without an agent, nothing, I got published in 2 weeks. Obviously, the book wasn't out in 2 weeks, but I signed the deal. I flew to England, because I was living in Italy, and was taken out to dinner by this wonderful man, Alec Bartholomew, and signed the contract like that. So I'm also very blessed. I've had a wonderful life. I have miraculous things. I have good karma. Not that I haven't suffered, because we all have our tragedies, but I have good karma, especially on my spiritual path. So lots of magical things happen. And certainly that was one. Hearing the voice say, we'll open the doors. You just need to know when to walk through. And I went, oh. And, the title of the book was Gateway, Doorway, right? The title of the publisher, sorry. So that's how I got into it. And it was a natural progression for me teaching spiritual things and workshops and whatever. But it soon overtook me to the point that I had to close the center. It was just, I had too much work. So that's my history. And here I am, 23, 4 years later, still writing, still producing material. Yes,
and then now you've actually reached down to the pit of your gut and given us this gem. So before you started writing this, obviously you are supremely passionate about letting people know what's really going on. But since you, the bulk of your work was channeled, what was the feeling of writing different when it was coming from your own consciousness?
Oh boy, that's a great question. For starters, I had to identify what I thought was the most important thing to share at this time. And then I had to overcome any sense of doubt or fear that speaking from my guts would put me in danger, because it's a very real concern. And then when I realized it would put me in danger, I had to say, do it anyway. And so then when I got through that process, I just started to I started with a conversation about standing in your truth no matter what, the importance of the light forces on the planet uniting at last, really, really uniting, and knowing that we are in Armageddon. We are absolutely in a spiritual war now, and there's no more time. There's really no time for hanging out, talking about, unicorns and angels. We've got to get into the grit if we're going to change things. So there's a lot of people who don't want to do that. They want to just stay in fairyland. And I don't mean to be offensive to anyone, but I don't think that's energy is particularly effective. It's lovely, and it's very good for one's self to stay in that place where I don't want to think of anything else except, love and light. But the reality is there's a war on this planet. It's getting tougher and stronger, and the dark side is going for broke. So we need more light workers to go for broke back and get out of that. Perhaps, I'm not telling anybody how to live their life, but perhaps redirect some of that love and light energy to love and light and power and strength and clarity. You see how I raise my voice when I do that? Mm-hmm. And so that was how I started out the book. It's just like, it's time to recognize this is Armageddon. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? And what am I going to do about it? So here is in fact, I think you may recall, at the end of the introduction, I said, this is my personal declaration of independence. And I was talking about being free of political correctness, being free of anybody's concern of being offended by anything I was saying, because we're so self-monitoring for fear of offending someone. And that has been placed in our society deliberately to shut us up. If you really look at it, these guys are geniuses, these evil dudes, right? The architecture of the political correctness is brilliant. It's evil genius, so that we will shut ourselves up. Nobody has to shut us up. They don't have to censor us much, because everyone knows if they go here, oh, that's going to offend this one, that's going to offend this one, somebody's going to attack me. And so my message is, say it anyway. We've got to get out of this. We're going to break free of this pen that we've put ourselves around, like corralling ourselves in this cage, and speak our truth. So that's what motivated me to write the book. It's like, okay, time to speak my truth, and I'm going to spill my guts on everything I understand as the dark force intent upon destroying human beings, all living life forms, the planet, taking complete control of the planet, and redirecting the human race into Borg creatures, cyborgs, with this push to transhumanism and artificial intelligence, which is running rampant. And that's kind of what got me off and running.
So I've definitely seen advertisements, commercials, even, real life videos of people overseas that actually already have just like a phone implanted in their hand, their debit card implanted in their hand, like they swipe into their building with their hand, like implants all over them from these like tech companies. And the way that they're selling it to people is it's just like, look how cool, my phone's in my hand. Yeah, I don't have to carry this bulky thing around anymore because I can just put it in your hand, and look how convenient it is. And it's the most terrifying thing that I've ever seen in my life, that anything gets implanted in my body that could also make me turn into a telephone or a computer. And then it also baffles me that the same people that do not believe in frequency, energy, or vibration, like they just still think that science is woo-woo, are the same people that are falling for the technological advances of turning into some cyborgist human creepy computer crossbreed. Like they're completely falling for it. They're the sheeple of the world is what I think. Completely falling for it. And then they're going to all of their other friends and being like, look, like, let's peer pressure everybody. Because you're right, the people that shouldn't be in power, bringing all of this negativity down, they're really smart, especially like you're talking about political correctness. I'm talking about introducing words into the water pool that even infect our conversations to the point where you go, oh my gosh, didn't you know that they 2 weeks ago were not allowed to use that word anymore? They rebranded that word. If you don't use this rebranded word, you're ignorant. You don't want to be ignorant. You better talk like all of us.
What they want to do is remove our humanity. So when you hear that you're no longer supposed to use the word mother, you're supposed to use birthing parent. This is, and of course, then there's the whole question of the gender.
Yeah, of course.
Effery, mind effery. But what they want to do is remove our humanity and remove our sense of being human. So mother, which evokes, for most people who have had a decent mother, it invokes such a sense of belonging, a sense of contact, communication, love, trust, especially for me. I had an extraordinary mother. And birthing parent evokes nothing except that would be computer language. Birthing parent number 1, birthing parent number 2, right? Almost like binary code, so that they remove the emotional attachment that is in language and start to move the conscious mind over to language that is more like binary code. Because they want us to be emotionless, vacuous, robotic beings. And eventually, yes, take the chip. Neuralink wants to put an entire computer in your skull. I'm sure you've heard about that, and I talk about it in the book. And eventually alter the DNA so that the DNA responds to a new messenger, and the messenger RNA. Putting new information into the DNA. And this is one of the themes in the book, an important theme in the book. And so I refuse it. I'm going to go down kicking and fighting. Mother is mother, baby. And I don't care how much you warp and mutilate language, which is why I wrote that introduction, which I think is very powerful. I'm not going to yield to the mutilation of language, which I adore, I love. English is very important to me, and my background is linguistics and foreign languages. And I'm not going to start speaking like a robot because you are instructing society that this is the new talk so that you can strip out of us everything that is human. No, and no, I'm not going to invent 87 gender pronouns. I know what a gender is, and I don't want to get anybody's feathers in a ruffle here, but I just watch this all and say, hopefully we'll move past this, because this is mind effery. You know what I mean by effery, right?
Well, I definitely still think, like, I consider it, I say 3D and 5D just to keep it on 2 subject lines. So a lot of the things that are being fought on Earth right now, even though they are for the evolution and the suppression of the human race and human consciousness, I always, like, in my mind, before I even put any type of emotion into the situation, I observe and I don't attach on a lot of things, just because I am naturally a supremely passionate person. So I don't need to overexert my natural passion for things if it really is orchestrated against me no matter what. So when it comes to anything divisive, I believe it's orchestrated division, 2 wings of the same bird that are never going to fly together. So I kind of like eagle eye the situation, and I'm like, why is this division here? We're all pretty smart. We know that divisive things don't really come together, and if division doesn't come together, then nothing can really be done. So there must be something at the top dividing everything, whether it's the war on language, whether it's the war on race, finances, poor, gender, all of these things. they're divisive for a reason, and it's distracting everybody from something that's even bigger. But if I'm mad at you that you don't want to call me my new pronoun, and you're mad at me because of, you know, whatever we want to throw in the scenario, you and I aren't ever going to be worked together as a team. Therefore, the guy in the higher realm laughing at us being so divisive is the one who's actually winning, when you and I are standing on opposite ends, acting like we're supremely passionate about something and we're going to die on the cross for this. Right.
And the guy that you're talking about in the higher realms, but I know you don't mean higher realms, but higher position.
Higher position, definitely not higher realms.
They're laughing all the, you know, they're sitting in their boardrooms going, what should we throw at them now? Let's see. Men can get pregnant. Let's do that one. World is flat. I mean, you know, whatever those things appear in society that people decide to go to battle for, they're all planted there to keep us in division, because that is the plan from beyond Roman times. Divide and conquer. That's the way you do it. Keep the plebeians distracted with BS while we orchestrate the complete takeover of everything.
Yes.
And they're sitting there, you know, fighting each other. The other day I saw a video, which it was a video of a New York street at night. And this guy was walking down the street with a camera, hidden camera. And in one city block, there were three separate brawls going on, maybe 2 city blocks, okay? And they were like off the sidewalk, there were these 3 women that were tearing each other's hair out and fighting over a man or whatever. And then finally this dude comes in and he goes, hey, babe, you know, lighten up. He's trying to pull these women apart. And then, you know, the 2 feet down, there's another couple guys beating each other to death. And I was looking at it going, is this Sodom and Gomorrah or what? In 2 city blocks, you've got these outrageous behaviors. It's just, it's shocking. And this is all being inculcated in our behavior, pushing through the drugs, pushing through the hate, the racism, whatever. Just keep people on the edge where they can never unite, because you'll invent something else. Today it's their gender, going to fight over that. Then it's the race. Then it's what's the other one? Race, gender. You name it. I mean, there's so many things that people are fighting over. Relationships are almost in the background. Back in the old days, passion, what am I trying to say? Crimes of passion were usually a jealous, enraged partner. But that's sort of like passe. Now it's just like, let's beat the shit out of someone for no reason.
Well,
let's do that.
I was going to say the programs like yours and programs like mine, I definitely think they're higher vibrational, whether we even have to get into the nitty gritty of some subjects. But at the end of the day, like, the intention behind the work is to serve humanity and make it better and be a brighter light. And there's a lot of content that gets 10 times more views than I get, right? And it's absolute trash. Like, I think I got on Facebook the other day, and I hate the button of all the other videos of people I don't follow that just show up at like recommend stuff for me. And then I was like, I don't even understand why I recommend. This girl just tried 5 different types of tequila out of 5 different colored straws. And that, like, it had like 500,000 comments and all this stuff. And I'm like, people are just absorbing trash all day long. They're completely desensitized to the shit they're actually programming in their brain. The people they follow on TikTok, like, they want to make sure not only if you think you're going to go in and do your work and find a subject, we're actually going to distract you with something that makes you dumber, turns your brain off, and actually literally just fills your whole consciousness and your auric body and field with just bullshit. It keeps you at a lower vibrational state where you're actually easily infiltrated by other, like, 4th dimensional energies trying to kind of absorb onto you. If you have no idea that you need to protect an energy body, you're probably like eating a bunch of bullshit, have chronic diseases that you actually think are chronic diseases, and I mean, you're probably following some false idol that doesn't even exist, you know? It's just, I believe in God. Prime Creator, I think, is a great way. Spirit, Source, Sophia, truly whatever you want to call it. I do believe in the highest creator that we have, but there's a lot of people following a creator that I think was made incorrectly, and they're giving their energy to the wrong, or in every capacity of life, they're outsourcing their lives so bad to the point where taking your power back just sounds exhausting because you outsource everything in your life, whether it's going and getting your gas filled, putting it on a credit card, going to work, outsourcing all of your energy for not amount of money, coming back home, trying to figure out food, realizing you're not educated in the right food, which really sucks for a lot of people. There's so many things that over time they really have been taken away from us, and they've been sold to us like it's a modern day convenience, and we're so lucky to have these. And now if you look at everything now, even with like DoorDash coming into play, Instacart, we're like, hey, stay at home and just make somebody else go buy all your shit for you. We'll just drop it off on your porch. And the thing that scares me most about that is the lack of human connection, even though everybody wants human connection. And I feel like the less you get around humans and the more we get behind these screens, the less our compassion goes down, which is, I mean, where our heart truly lies. The most powerful thing on this universe is a human heart, and the way that how palpable its energy is. And when you can lead with a heart of compassion, miracles actually do happen. I mean, good karma is one thing, but leading with gratitude and compassion are two of the biggest superpowers I've ever come in contact with in my life. But I've noticed through a lot of this new conditioning, and again, this upheaval in technology and separation of humans, that a lot of people are losing their compassion. Whether it's even me just going into a store, people not even making eye contact like they used to years ago, or being as open with strangers or as trusting. Like there's a turn of good that I can see, but I can also see the damage that's finally been done that even I, about 4 years ago, was still unconscious to. So with you doing your work as long as you have, and obviously being on earth longer than I have, was there a point where you were just waking up more to the suffering? Like you could see it more and more the higher you went into your gifts and into a frequency that you were able to maintain?
I have to reflect on that question.
It's okay. It's kind of a big one.
First, before I try to answer that question, and say that yes, on the other hand, I'm seeing more citizens starting to intervene in violent moments. It's turning. It's obviously the violence and the negative energy on the streets and in restaurants, whatever, is accelerating. But more people are starting to intervene rather than turning the other eye. I just saw a video where this guy went into a restaurant, demanded that he gets free food, and when the owner said, no, you need to leave, he throws him, knocks him out, and starts just turns tables over in the restaurant, and a few of the people seated in their seats got up and pinned this guy against the wall until the police came. And the police said, we're happy to see people intervene, we just don't want anybody to get hurt. And I'm like, no, let's not tell people they shouldn't intervene. It's time for humanity to stand up for each other. First of all. So I just wanted to throw that in because, that's the upside of the negative side. As for the suffering, it's a fine gray line where you can operate as a healer, spiritual guide, teacher, etc., and observe and assist without getting dragged into despair. I'm an extremely empathic person, like I was telling you about at the beginning with the psychic pain. So if I see somebody in pain, I feel it in my body. If I see somebody put a needle in their arm, I feel a needle going into my arm. It's a terrible gift. I always say to people, be careful what you ask for, because it's painful. And some people have said to me, can't you just turn it off? I go, no, I can't, because if I'm serving as a healer, I need to know where that pain is. So in the days when I was doing psychic crystal healing, just by scanning somebody, I would know where, where the pain was, or, like somebody had chronic pain in his shoulder, but I never wanted anyone to tell me, because I was doing this work psychically. So I'd feel the ice in the arm, and then I'd get a psychic vision of a sword going in another lifetime. So I needed that skill because it served me in a big way as a psychic healer. But there's a point where, especially with children, especially with animals, I can almost not take it anymore, the suffering. So I have to, many times in my life, step back. Like I volunteered at an animal shelter. I just couldn't do it. I was in a state of despair all the time. And these little animals, up against the wall, not even wanting to look at humans. I just couldn't bear the pain, the emotional duress of it. And, I couldn't take all these animals home with me. And so, there's just so much pain on this planet. And it really is, if you're serving as a healer or whatever category of work you do for spirit, you have to make a contract with yourself, what you're able to do and how much you're able to involve yourself without getting pulled into the despair. And it is a constant tightrope, constant. And so right now, for example, I think you'll agree, of course, you are much younger than I am, but as you go through your life, your spiritual life, you go through many phases. And right now, I'm in a phase of warrior. I am tired of the human race being abused. And I've got my sword is up, and I'm in my power. And it's a different energy than before, which was much more receptive, much more of being an intermediary between source and, let's say, a client that I was assisting. Now I'm in the front line, and it's a real commitment. And it requires having armor on and being fully empowered.
Very, very empowered, yeah, especially to not give into any form of fear frequency. That I know that's definitely just a part of the process you have to go through. You just have to dig into that warrior more. And I love that you bring that up. I have characters that I refer to myself as, just because I sway in and out of so many ones, but there are two that really stuck with me that definitely, they're like my warriors and my protectors. And one is Medusa, and just understanding that if I were in Medusa's shoes and had happened what happened to me, I would want to tell the truth, and I would want someone to tell the truth for me before I got out of this cave. So I have my Medusa mindset where I'm like, I'm going to tell the truth, and my truth is uncomfortable for others, and I don't give a shit because I'm tired of keeping my mouth shut for other people because of their feelings. I'm so fucking over it. It's ridiculous. And then I have another where, when you think of like serving humanity and, hey, humans, knock your egotistical shit off, just create good karma. We need karma to continue everything. But the Kali in me raged one day during a healing session I had. And I said, I still really struggle with keeping everything in line all the time, because I feel like I just have a pit of lava in my root chakra. I'm just so pissed at everything that's going on right now. And it's not like I operated from that, but I felt that that was a deterrent in me doing the work that I wanted to do. And I said, I feel like Kali, and I'm standing here and I have the ego of man wrapped around my neck, and I'm like, I have this severed head, and if you don't do your research on that picture, everyone's like, oh, it's demonic and awful, but the head is the ego of man, and she's sick of the ego of man pushing the human consciousness further away from source. Like, it's okay. It's time for all of you to wake up and work together because you're all the same thing. We're all the same thing. It doesn't matter what you believe. We all come from the same place. You guys, you're being infiltrated. You're being taken over. You're ignorant. You're sheep. You're being stupid. And I've always had kind of more of an aggressive tone if I were even going to come at someone about like who they are, so to speak. Even before, like, I definitely think I had more dark empathic tendencies before my healing journey afterwards. I understand a lot of the things I went through. Like you, I don't blame. I'm just like, oh, you got to go through it so you can kind of help others through it. Direct experience is our best teacher. One of the best things that I say. But Kali and Medusa are like my warrior terms, because I'm just like, I'm done with this shit and I'm not going to sit here and be a bystander anymore. And I still have people in my life that they're like, but what do we do? And I'm like, be a nice person, make eye contact, smile at strangers, pick up the trash on the ground, quit being a bitch, okay? If you're going to be a bitch, mean it and make it worth something for humanity. Not, I didn't heal my inner child issues, okay? Or my mommy issues. Like, that's not what we're here for. And I do love, I think I want to go back and pull this apart, how you're like, for anybody that's still in like fairy tale land and like wants to talk about unicorns and stuff. What I took that as is there was a video I watched where a lady's like, I think it's really great that you have found that you can talk to your life guide and your spirit guides and extraterrestrials. She goes, you didn't come here to just sit here on Earth and just talk to voices in your head, okay? Stand up, rise with us. We need you to fight. You actually incarnated here to fight. Did you know that? Did you know you have to leave your house? Did you know you have to do all of this stuff? Like, you don't get to sit here and do willy-nilly love and light. We need you to step up with us. And obviously that should have gotten more views too.
That's a very important point. And it's just that that consciousness is very self-involved. It's like, I'm channeling, my spirit guides this, and it's kind of like a yesterday type of energy I've been around a long time doing this spirit work, and it was wonderful discovering ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of people that are still in that stage of discovery, so it's new. But for people that have been through it for so long, it's like, could you kind of speed it up here? Because we don't have time for you to be fantasizing about, like you said, voices in your head, whether they're in your head or whether you're channeling them. I'm not one to make that determination, but it's time to turn your energy out to the greater good, because this planet is at war, and people don't want to hear it, but it's in your face. The G20 meeting 2 days ago, Klaus Schwab stood up, Bill Gates, they are not politicians. Hello? So now it's the G22, because they have self-appointed themselves leaders of the entire political class. And Schwab got up and he gave a speech about the way things are going to go down. And they're dark. So it's great that you're making, scented candles, but hello, you better figure out that if you are truly a member of the light brigades, it is time for you to shake yourself up and say, oh, I actually have to put myself out there a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, the self-aggrandizement that comes with, there were periods in all of our lives when it's like, oh, I knew that. I knew that was going to happen. Ooh, the phone. Discovering your gifts is cool. Mm-hmm. And talking about them is fun. But it's time to get moved beyond the toys, the tarot, and the toys, I call them, that we work with. It's time to move. I've put out a tarot deck. I love the tarot. But my point being, we're entering into another level now, whether people want to notice it or not. And it's time to turn your energy out instead of self-aggrandizement of all your gifts. And if that means, like you said, helping someone on the street, being a lighthouse. I always tell people this: if you don't want to be in the front lines, for God's sakes, be a lighthouse. Stand for that. Mm-hmm. Shine. When you enter the room, you want people to go, whoa. And it also feels like it's time to move beyond, my boyfriend, I'm not loved. The emphasis 20 years ago was how do I find my soulmate? How do I improve my love life? It's like we've moved into a time now where people are recognizing that this is an existential crisis on the entire planet. And that these desires are bigger, the need of the individual, the need to be loved, to find your soulmate or whatever, is now the need to save the planet, to assist humanity. And some people understand it and some people don't, but they will, because getting overwhelmed here.
It's okay.
The information that we're getting about starvation and the destruction of the food supply, it's methodical and it's every day. It's worse. They're turning the screws. Now there's going to be the strike on the trains. They keep blowing up the food supplies. The money's crashing, and people are still talking about meeting their soulmate. Maybe it's time you started to look at the outer world, the reality, which is why I wrote that book. You asked me why. Look at the demon. Look at the devil. You can stare it in the face. And when you do that, which is what I do in the book and what I do in my life, when you stare the demon in the face, it shrinks because it feeds on your fear. So when you look at it, it's okay. And I think I said in the book, show me what you got. In fact, I did, because somebody said to me, Patricia, isn't that just, poking the bear a little bit? Damn straight. Let me poke that bear. This boogeyman. Come on, let's see what you got. Because the only way that we're going to disarm it is to look at it in the face and let it understand, this dark force, that we are not afraid. We are not going to give it our loot. It is not going to suck my adrenal energy out of my being. It cannot enter this space, because I, Patricia Cori, am a sovereign being. Period. I say that and I get goosebumps from my feet to my crown.
Yeah, no, you gave me goosebumps over here, and I love it. I mean, I definitely feel how in your power you are. I love how, you have a very docile tone about you, and then really when that warrior kicks in, she's here. And yeah, I love it. I can't wait to get further into the book. I wish that I could have finished it all in the week that I had, but that certainly wasn't on my list.
It's a big book. 370 pages.
It is, and I mean, luckily it's my language, so it's not like it's hard to digest where I have to put it down and, really like integrate it. I've had a few books where I'm like, man, I can't wait to pick this back up in a few years and understand it a little better. But no, yours is right on key with all the things that I feel and know about DNA transfer, and how, our secrets are locked in there. And it's been used against us, There's a study that I found, can't quote it right now, but it was talking about how important it is for you to figure out what foods your DNA can work with, because certain foods can turn on ancestral links, good or bad, in your DNA. Or it can turn on chronic diseases, good or bad, in your DNA based on food. So when you talk about not only the food supply being messed with as far as getting to us, but what's in it before it even gets to us, talk about crimes of humanity. We could sit here all day and talk about that. But your book does a really, really good wrap up of what I believe we are all truly fighting against. I think there's too many people out there just going, oh, when's World War III going to happen? Because, that's when the nuclear bombs are going to come in and then we're all screwed. And I'm like, dude, World War III has been here. It's spiritual warfare. It's the war on fear. Are you scared right now when you walk outside your house? Like, are you scared that you might not be able to afford your groceries or your mortgage or your car payment? Are you scared that you won't be able to put your kids through college? Are you scared that you might not have a job? Are you scared? Because if you are, then they're winning and you're in the war. But guess what? You get to take your power back and join all of us over here that know exactly what's going on. And we're a lot nicer over here, right? Like, I know you see a lot of warrior movies where they're still all mean to each other. We're all nice. We all want everyone to get along, and we believe in the unification, and we definitely believe in the source that we all come from. So come over here, worry less, okay? Check your vibes. You know, no low vibes over here.
But
you know,
in order to achieve that, a certain amount of things need to take place, because it sounds good, but people don't just shift like that without input.
Oh,
and
no.
So one thing that needs to happen is that people need to step away from the television. I go into this in the book a lot. The television is designed. It has a flicker in it that is deliberately placed in it to put people into a trance state, or what they refer to as a submissive state, within about 4 or 5 seconds of sitting down in front of the set. So people are 24/7 in front of the television. A lot of people have got their cell phones here and the TV there, right? So they're completely in an automatic, an alternate reality that is not, sorry, my dog is activating over here, that's got them outside of interacting with nature, animals, good food, cooking, loving their home, each other. It's just like this automatic world of programming. So in order for some of these people to come over and get out of the trance of what's creating the fear, they need to lose the tools that are holding them entranced. So number one, do your best, and I'm talking to the audience now, I personally haven't had television for 25 years. It took about a week to get used to not having the buzz going at night, but it was so liberating. So number one, if you can get rid of television, do it. As far as your cell phone, this is what I tell people is this is not your tool, it's theirs. It's their tool. And you're a tool to believe that it's your tool. So the phone is becoming so interactive that now we know that they can read they're going for, what do you call it? Recognition. Before long, you won't be able to get into your phone without eye recognition, facial recognition to just activate your phone. And then there's the suggestions that are coming in through the phone. And pretty soon you won't be able to get into the phone without being the obedient social credit system slave. So get rid of the phone. And you know what I do? I keep my phone outside the house in a metal box. I don't want the energy of it. I don't want the poison of it. I don't want the sound of it. And I have no addiction to it. It's really awesome. The only time I use it is when I need to transact something that requires me getting a code, or when I'm in the car because, I figure if something happens, I've got a way to get help. But other than that, I live without this freaking phone because I grew up without the phone and I don't like it. I do not like seeing people walk down the street with a phone in front of their face and walk right into me because they're unconscious. So there are things that people can do they don't want to because it's much more convenient to keep the toys in your face. But if you want to become conscious and you want to become independent, if you can't get rid of them completely, you need to say to yourself, well, here's a way to test if I'm addicted. Let's just not have it. See how long I can cope without having my cell phone in my face. And sometimes people go, wow, I can't stand being around without my phone for 5 minutes. Well, then you're addicted and you need to do something about it. So these are some of the things that I think will help people to come around. It's like, where have I been? I've been in this haze, glued to the television and all the nonsense programming and all of the programs that are in the programs. And liberating yourself from these things requires intention. And the intention is to take back your power and to take back your sovereignty. When I say that word, I go into altered states immediately.
Oh, you feel it in your body. You're like, sovereignty, yes.
Yeah.
This is mine. I shall reclaim this. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. I usually have a notebook. I have a notebook where I write down stuff in front of me, but they're just things that you've said that just feel so good on my body when you say them. and they resonate with so many of the things that I too believe. And I would say, what would you want to leave everybody with? But you already gave me your 1 and 2 and how to go about it, especially with protecting your energy field against all the things that are coming up to us. We could keep going on lists, foods, meditation, on and on and on and on and on. But for anybody that wants any more information on Patricia, I will definitely link all of her stuff below. Hacking the God Code, The Conspiracy to Steal the Human Soul is her latest work. But as she said, she's not done. They'll keep coming, and I will keep listening. You can also find you on YouTube as well. You release weekly videos, is that correct?
Whenever the spirit moves me, but they can, you can go to my website to sign up for the YouTube channel so that to become a subscriber, sometimes I do 3 in a week and then other times I disappear. And I would like to invite people to please get this book. If you want to really look at your own sense of empowerment and how to cope with what's going on. People are telling me, it's got 5 stars on Amazon, and people are saying, I feel so empowered from reading this book. And that's what my mission is, to empower people. So that's what I want to leave you with. Be empowered, be strong. Know that no matter how dark things can look, the light force is a power that will not be put out, will not happen. So come on board, get active, and let's move on with this Armageddon scenario so we can go into the golden age that we came here to live.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you and I appreciate your work. And don't go anywhere yet, because I have some great music to dance us out to. Or at least to flow out to, I should say, because I got something kind of dreamy today. Vitality Exposed, you guys know who it is. Concert photography by Kelly Catastrophe. She's the one that sponsors the music for us. If you haven't been over to her page recently, she just did a iconic shoot for Motionless in White. So please head on over and give her some love. Today I've picked a song out from Like Saturn. It's also unlike Pluto's other project. It is called Forgetting Myself, which I wish you wouldn't, because we need you to come on board. So enjoy these melodic trances and then dance your way into the next episode. I love you guys. Thank you again, Patricia.
Been real. Thank you so much.
This is the Hoosier Media Network, your home for podcasting.